to the next video in our series. This is a video where I'll discuss alchemy, the Kabbalah, and the Tree of Life. I hope you were able to find a copy of the Tree of Life, a depiction of the Tree of Life, on the internet that I encouraged you to have ready when I completed the last video. Alchemy is generally considered to be the act or process of changing a base metal, such as lead, into gold. Reference books, if they mention alchemy at all, usually associate it with men who had what was considered to be a ridiculous notion that it was possible to turn lead into gold. It is sometimes further implied that they did eccentric experiments with chemicals and metals, and that their writings at best were incomprehensibly vague and seemed to be even less sensible than their ideas about being able to turn lead into gold. Actually, though, some of the writings gave very detailed instructions about the alchemical process, but they were intentionally so veiled that only after years of great dedication, study, and work could a few persons finally, and even then only with the help of divine inspiration, understand and follow those instructions to completion. Some people say that there really were alchemists who were able, at least once in their lives, to actually make gold by this process. The highest aspect of the alchemical process, however, has to do with much more than changing one metal into another. This process and the instructions to be followed for its successful completion have a duality of meaning. The duality references the fact that in addition to alchemy being the means by which base metal could be changed into gold, it is also, in its higher form, a means of allowing the alchemist to change or transform or transmute the base person, oneself, into the so-called gold of additional spiritual development, meaning that a higher form of spirituality is reached within oneself. This higher aspect of the duality is sometimes called spiritual alchemy, as opposed to physical alchemy, and it more accurately defines what true alchemy is really all about, rather than involving only the process of turning lead into gold, or other base metals into gold. This higher, or transcendental alchemy, as it is also called, is the process of a person spending many years, perhaps even a lifetime, working to raise the self to its highest possible spiritual potential for that incarnation. Many of those who practice physical alchemy also followed the parallel yet higher path of transcendental or spiritual alchemy. Its completion is truly the work of many years, and for a number of dedicated alchemists it became the work of their lifetime. We'll let that be sufficient for our purposes on the subject of alchemy. Excuse me. Let us now take up the subject of the Kabbalah. The Kabbalah is another means by which ancient principles may be studied, meditated upon, and perhaps to some degree with guidance from higher existence, even understood at a conscious level. The study of the Kabbalah is to be considered as a very serious approach to these principles. It looks at origins, that, meaning God, from which all has come, and that perhaps to which we all strive at one level or another of our existence to return. One very important part of the study of the Kabbalah is a symbol that addresses many aspects of existence. It is known as the Tree of Life. I trust that you were able to find on the internet, as suggested in the previous video, a copy of the Tree of Life that you could print out and observe as we discuss it further. But first it would be worthwhile to find out just a bit more about it. Above the tree there are often shown three emanations. They're usually depicted as nothing more than three nested curved lines or arcs above the first sephira or circle at the top of the tree, which is called Kether, with each of these arcs having a curve at the top and with each one curving downward to the sides just above Kether. They deal with the concept of limitless light coming from no thing. They may or may not be shown on the depiction of the Tree of Life that you printed out, but they've been described here because of their importance. Beginning with Kether, there are 10 Sephiroth, which indicate, among other things, the order of origin, following a sort of zigzag of motion from Kether to Chokmah to Bina to Chesed, etc. Forgive my pronunciations. The Tree of Life, as it is generally shown, is the traditional tree, with the Sephiroth, beginning with Bina, representing the planets known at the time the Kabbalah was formulated, and they include the Sun and the Moon, which were indicated back then as planets. There are 32 different paths that are a part of the tree. 10 paths are the 10 Sephiroth, and 22 of the paths connect the Sephiroth in various ways and are symbolically associated with the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. Now you'll see more additional information about the three groupings of these Hebrew letters in the table of correspondences on the website at humbleseeker.site90.com/table1.htm. It is also known as humbleseeker.org/table.htm or table1.htm. There is a more modern, more correct version of the Tree of Life shown in the book The Seven Rays of the QBL by Frater Albertus. That tree is shown in the book on color plate 11 of that book. The more modern version of the tree includes Sephiroth for additional, more recently discovered planets. Be aware, however, that you will never see a fully complete and fully correct Tree of Life in print, because all knowledge of such things has never been and will never be given to any single human person. It is not to be implied here that a depiction of the Tree of Life constitutes a complete Kabbalah, for there is a very great deal more in the study of the Kabbalah, especially in the writings of the Zohar, and also in the Sefer Yetzirah, that need not be dealt with here at this time. That's not because they lack importance, however, since the opposite is true. There's also a great deal of additional symbolism connected with the Sephiroth of the traditional tree, as usually depicted, but it would be neither practical nor appropriate to try to include more of that kind of information at this time. These matters are not considered here for several reasons. The most important being that such a detailed study is not the focus of this video, but also because of the great depth of study that such a consideration would entail. Many books have already been written on these subjects, and they're out there for you if you need them. It may be said, however, that the tree consists of 3 columns, upon which are the 10 Sephiroth. When facing the tree, the rightmost column is known as the Pillar of Mercy. It is associated with the masculine aspects of the tree and is concerned with the future. it is considered to be positive in polarity. The leftmost column is known as the pillar of strength or severity. It is associated with the feminine aspect of the tree and is concerned with the past. It is considered to be negative in polarity, but again let me state that this term as used here has no association with anything derogatory, and instead, as stated, has more to do with strictly polarity. The central column is the pillar of mildness. It is concerned with the present. By some, it is known as the mystic path or the gold pillar. Perhaps it would be wise at this point to issue a word of caution about the study of the Kabbalah. There are those who are so concerned about having things the way they want them that they attempt to make use of principles that some might call Kabbalistic magic. The use of magic in general, whether white or black, in order to have a certain outcome based on what the perpetrator wants to have happen, is strongly discouraged by the speaker as a practice. In the movie The Last Unicorn, we're shown that the young magician has far better results when he uses the approach that says, magic, magic, do as you will, meaning, in other words, let your will be done, than he is able to do when he tries to accomplish that which he believes to be the best solution. If you don't find that convincing, you should certainly be able to see the lesson in the book Zanoni, when the young novice meddles with principles that he can't even begin to understand. The results are frightening, to say the least. Let this be a word to the wise, if the wise will but permit and heed it. The tree of life, like the rest of the Kabbalah, and like other paths of study, is intended to impress upon the consciousness of those who study it truths about existence, about life, about themselves, and about creation and the Creator. Like the tree, rooted in Malkuth, the earth, with its branches reaching into the heavens. We all, as humanity, have a similar duality, with our feet grounded on the earth, in the physical world, and our spirit reaching for the heavens, the higher spiritual realms. This concludes our video on these subjects. I encourage you now to watch the next video on the Tarot, on the common theme within these disciplines of study, and on the commonality in all of life. Thank you very much for watching.